But then, the numbers are good. It's exactly what I expect. So obviously my team is doing what they got to do. And I know, by that operation, all you got to do is set a good team, a good operation, and you could open up 3, 4, 5, 6 more.
What up, folks? What's going on? Welcome to the Spun Today podcast, the podcast that is anchored in writing but unlimited in scope. I'm your host, Tony Ortiz, and I appreciate you listening. This is episode 142 and the final episode of 2019, the year-end show. And being in the holiday spirit, I have a treat for you fine folks. In this episode, I speak with my best friend, Steven Almonte, about entrepreneurship while we drive to his latest venture, Aura, Cocina, and Bar. Aura's cuisine is a modern Cuban-Asian fusion designed by celebrity chefs. The aesthetics of the locale transport you into feeling like you're walking the streets of Havana. Listen in to find out how this vision came to fruition, as we also discuss Steven's other successful ventures, like the Brooklyn staple Caoba, and Dominicana Cargo Express. I've known Steven now for almost 2 decades, or probably already 2 decades. We met in junior high school. We were in the same class at junior high school 210, Elizabeth Blackwell, class 804, if I remember correctly. Then we went to the same high school, Richmond Hill High School, and we've been tight ever since. He has been on the podcast a minute ago, though, and it wasn't a standalone podcast. It was episode 81, titled 9/11 Never Forget, and it was a 9/11 tribute episode where I interviewed a bunch of people, including Steven, about their experiences and where they were when 9/11 happened. His sister Elaine, which is his partner in his latest venture with Aura, was more recently on the podcast, episode 132, titled Visiting Spain and Morocco Vicariously Through Ilo. And we actually mentioned her in the very beginning of the episode, once we get into it, because we recorded this while driving in the car, similar to how I recorded that episode 132 with Elaine while driving in the car. So although the audio sounds great, you will hear, sometimes the navigation in the background or a little bit of background noise, but definitely nothing of consequence. Now, Steven, since I've known him, has always been a hard worker, a hustler. If you notice, actually, in the acknowledgement section of my novel Fractal, I mention him, and within the acknowledgement say that he's the definition of a hustler. And that's definitely the case with him. He's a keep your eyes on the prize and go for it type of dude. And while recording this episode, specifically this intro, I was thinking of the term Renaissance man, which is a phrase that I've always seen attributed to folks in like biographies from back in the day. And they always reference like one person being a statesman and also a businessman and also a teacher and also an inventor. And I'm always like, how the fuck do these people have time to do like so much shit? Like those are like 4, 5, 6 different like careers that, the norm and folks nowadays are usually like just one thing. But in doing this episode with Steven, it helped me see how things like that are doable. Even for example, with me myself, if I factor in my like current career, my 9 to 5 that I go to every day, and the fact that I'm also a podcaster and I'm also a writer. Back in the day, I used to bartend, I do real estate. You see how things can pile up. But I want to read out to you guys before we jump into the episode. So I want to list out to you all the jobs that I know of Steven having in the time that I've known him. And there's a shitload. So he packed bags at Western Beef. That's like a Brooklyn supermarket chain. I'm not sure if it's outside of Brooklyn, but I know them to be in Brooklyn. Stock Boy at Key Food, which I believe is for folks listening outside of New York, I think it's like a national supermarket chain. Pathmark, he was a cashier there, which in the episode that I did with his cousin Avi, episode 138 about the military and being a veteran, we actually poke fun at Steven for being the first male cashier at Pathmark. He was a server at Russo's on the Bay. It's like a catering hall here in Queens in Howard Beach. He's a busboy at Lenny's Clam Bar. which is another spot in Queens. He was a waiter at Santa Fe Steakhouse, another spot here in Queens. He was a cab driver. He's an Army veteran, where, by the way, he was deployed to Iraq. He was wounded in war. I think he was deployed twice, if I'm not mistaken, or just once for like a long stint. And he's a Purple Heart recipient, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the second highest honor that the Army can give. And we have spoken about doing similar to how I did with Abi, doing like a military experience only episode. So I'll save those stories for a future date. He went on to being a legislative aide for Diana Reyna in City Hall. Shout out to City Council District 34 in Brooklyn. He was an iron worker with the Local 46 Metallic Lathers Union. And I remember specific to this, and I think we touched on it a little bit on the episode, when he was getting into the whole iron worker thing, it seemed like out of character for him, kind of. Like, you know, he's not like the handiest guy in the world. One thing that I remember when speaking to him about it, like, why are you like pursuing this? Why are you doing this? And he explained to me like the way that like unions work. Once you're in the union and you know you pay your dues and stuff like that, you pretty much have a job for life. It was kind of like a safety net thing that I remember thinking was like really smart of him to think that way. In that he was like, you know, anything else that I do in my life, if I try something else and fail, I can, you know, if tomorrow I find myself without work, I can literally go to the union and get a job. And that's, I think, like dope, practical, long-term thinking and mentality to have. He's a landlord of a couple properties. We spoke about that in the episode. His first entrepreneurial venture, or I don't want to say first, but biggest at that time, was partnering up with someone and opening a restaurant in Brooklyn called Makori. And then he wound up buying out his partner and repurposing the location into what it is now, which is Caoba Brooklyn Bistro. It's a really popular spot in Brooklyn, both for the nightlife, but also the food, which is made by Chef Papi, which is the curator and creator of the famous Dominican pizza. Shout out to Chef Papi, by the way. I want to get him on the podcast in the future. And the Dominican pizza, for those of you that don't know, I've had it. It's delicious. It's the base, instead of being a dough, it's pretty much like a big tostón, like a plátano tostón. It has dough de los tres golpes on top, like some fried salami, fried cheese. I believe it has some chicken on there, some vodka sauce. It's really good. I recommend, highly recommend. But it's a dope spot in Brooklyn, which I will link to in the episode notes to all the social media for both Caoba and Aura that we're going to get to, and all that good stuff. He had at Caoba murals done by like local artists. Like there's a mural of Biggie in the patio area in the back, in the outdoor area of Caoba, and inside you'll see portraits of Romeo Santos and Cardi B and Bob Marley. It's definitely a vibe and worth checking out. Then from Caoba, he also starting an exporting shipping company called Dominicana Cargo Express. We speak about that a bit on the episode. While doing all this, is also a Port Authority police officer full-time, and now is embarking on his latest venture, which is Aura, which is the main topic of this episode. I mentioned all of that because I feel that a lot of the time, especially within our culture, we look at someone who has some levels of success and we see them for only that. Or we think that they got lucky somehow, or that they hit the lottery, or had wealthy parents, or something. And we discount all of the hard work and different paths taken that converged into their current state. So I think it's really important to take away from this episode that it's a hustle of 20 plus years that gets you to this point. And hopefully this episode is motivation enough for folks out there to apply to their own hustles. I know it definitely is for me. Steven, thank you very much for doing this episode. And to everybody listening, I want to point you to the website for this specific episode at spuntoday.com/podcast/142, where you can see pictures of Aura under construction, as well as videos and some other goodies. Again, that's spuntoday.com/podcast/142. And lastly, before we jump into the episode, here's one quick way that you can help support the show. Another way you can help support the Spun Today podcast and also upgrade that stale wardrobe of yours is by going to spuntoday.com/support and clicking on the banner for Stitch Fix. Once you do, you'll enjoy a $25 discount to your first purchase. And the way Stitch Fix works is pretty cool. I use it and I've never been disappointed. You'll set up a profile, you'll put in all the sizes for your clothes, as well as all the different brands and types of clothes that you like to wear. It's really simple and intuitive to set up. They'll show you pictures and pretty much give you a thumbs up or thumbs down option on if you would wear something or not. And you get to select all the brands that you already are used to wearing. With this information, there are thousands of passionate, trend-setting stylists will curate a Stitch Fix box for you. They'll send you 5 items that you get to preview before they mail it to you, and you'll get to select based on the image if you like it or not. If not, they'll replace it with something else, and if so, they'll mail it to you absolutely for free. You can try everything on, and you have a few days to send everything back or keep the stuff that you want to keep. Then you can use that $25 credit that I mentioned towards your purchase of those items. Again, to freshen up your wardrobe and also support the Spun Today podcast, go to spuntoday.com/support and click on my affiliate link banner for Stitch Fix and enjoy your $25 credit. All right, so we are recording the second ever in a car, in a vehicle, en route podcast, Spun Today podcast, with a second Almonte family member. Elaine was the first one. Now, Steven, you are the second.
Almonte. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Always, bro. So obviously, usually with these podcasts, I always do my own intro and stuff like that. So I'll introduce everything. But what I wanted to jump into, as we are on our way to Aura, which is located where?
In East Winnisburg.
What's the address?
315 Meserole, Brooklyn, New York, 11206.
And that, for the folks listening, is a new restaurant, a second establishment that Steven is in the process of opening up. And I wanted to have him on to speak generally about entrepreneurship and his whole experience and how it's been with this specifically, literally buying a second location and having to build it up and construct it up from the visions that he has in his head for it, and everything that he has gone through from interior design and having to just everything A to Z, having to get bartenders and chefs and managers and how does all that shit work, you know what I mean, plan it out or break it down.
Well, I love the restaurant business. I've always, since a young kid, and that was my first job. I love hospitality. As you know, I always like to host in my house and make people feel good. I have a personality for that. I always started from the bottom, as a busboy, then moving on to a waiter, to a head server, to bartending, to managing. So I went through all the routes, on the floor.
And you did that in Roosters on the Bay, right? I remember. I think that was your first restaurant job back in high school when we were in high school.
Yeah, I did that in Roosters on the Bay in Howard Beach. I also did it in Lenny's Clam Bar. And,
you serious?
Yeah, I did it in Lenny's Clam Bar. Yeah. And I also did it in Santa Fe Steakhouse in Austin Street.
Oh yeah, Diablo! I forgot about that.
Yeah, I love it. I was always the head server everywhere I went with the highest sales, and that's where I always got promoted quick. And I always said I wanted one. So thankfully, I was able to land a good job in the local 46 union ironworking. I was able to be in different sites. One of the biggest ones was the World Trade Center, and I'm happy about that. Every time I pass by it, and I was there 5-6 floors before the building, doing the foundation of the building. So that was great to be part of it.
And I definitely want to get into all that, because you've had I always consider you like a Renaissance man, somebody that's had 1,000 different jobs, and I'm sure all of them you gain knowledge and experience from each and every one of them that you probably still carry with you to this day, and everybody's lives, shit that you go through informs who you are, who you become, and stuff like that. And I want to get into all that, but real quick before we get off from Roosters on the Bay, didn't you see Robert De Niro or Al Pacino there?
Yeah, I served the Robert De Niro. It was an Italian function.
I remember.
Yeah, and I was able to serve him. I was like, Robert, can I take your place? He said, sure. That was our long conversation. But it was pretty cool. I served the Gottis as well, Gotti's wife and the kids.
Damn.
It was good. Joe Pesci.
That's dope.
Yeah.
And that comes full circle with the latest movie that we were talking about the other day, which we got to finish speaking about.
Which is great.
The Irishman.
Yeah, I saw it twice actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's just
it's
dope.
better the second
I definitely
time.
want to watch it again. But see, so you went from working in the world trade, that was another like connection you had to like hospitality and stuff.
No,
in terms of like working for the iron workers.
No, like you stated before, I've had like 1,000 jobs. I've done literally everything, but to sum it all up, I just do it for the money. I just chase the money because I always wanted to become an entrepreneur ever since a kid, and I'd rather if I get paid 800 rather than 600, I'd rather, I'll do that job, even if I've never have no knowledge of it and I've never done it. But I was always chasing the paper. You know that you know me my whole life growing up.
It's like the hustler's mentality right there.
Yeah, I always went where the money was more. Construction, I don't even have a screwdriver in my house right now. Like, I don't know anything about construction, but they offered me $40 an hour starting, and I was like, fuck it. I dropped my job at a Santa Fe Steakhouse in Austin Street, and I went over there.
And the reason why, at least I think, like specific to this episode, and like your purpose behind like chasing the money and stuff like that, was because you had, or what I'm asking, was it because you had like this like end goal of like opening up your own spot?
Yeah, I had my vision.
Okay.
I knew I had to save money. I know my parents weren't going to give it to me. We faced a lot of hardship through our high school years, when my father had a bodega in Uptown, and it did really bad. He lost everything, and I just, we were just coming from the bottom, and I knew I was going to get help from my parents. So I was just like always like saving money because I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. My dad's side of the family, everybody's an entrepreneur. Everybody works for themselves, and that's exactly what I wanted.
And do you know why? Like the bodega went in hard times? He had like a partner or some shit that screwed him?
No, he had a partner. The partner actually saw what was happening soon, so he was able to bail out and cash all his money in. But
what was it, like just business going down?
It was just that like when they were buying the business, they were supposedly selling, whatever it was a week, 20,000, 25,000, whatever it was. But basically the guy that was selling it was having his family go, for like 3 weeks straight while my father was, testing the register, see how the sales were, and the sales were great. And obviously when they sold, those customers weren't coming back, and it's just like, so the sales weren't there. It's a lot of competition. I'm talking about like there's like 4 bodegas on each block in Uptown. It's like little Dominican Republic up there, as everybody knows, in the Heights. And it's just like if one bodega has it for plátanos for $8 per dollar, the other one throws it for $9 per dollar, and it gets ridiculous at a point where it's like a plátano's 10 cents. Like, how do you make money off of that? So it was just a competition thing. Like, people would literally walk 3 or 4 blocks just to get something 50 cents cheaper.
That's insane. And not for nothing, that's a really good and important point, I think, for folks to take in, as far as when you want to get into purchasing a business. Because I know just from like doing real estate and mortgages and stuff like that, and I've worked for small businesses in the past as well, like restaurants and real estate offices, mortgage offices. And one thing that's different with purchasing a business versus the little that I know of it, just from that side of it, than purchasing a house, is that you, like, one of the prerequisites is that you get to like shadow the owner of the establishment. You get like 2 to 3 years is like rule of thumb of their business income tax and their personal income taxes as well, to like see how the business has done, because they could say, oh yeah, this does $1 million a week, and you obviously not just going to take somebody's word for it, because they're selling you something. They're going to paint the picture as pretty as possible.
You definitely have to go by the quarter sales. By that, you can't lie about that.
Okay.
So once you get that report and you see what you're paying in sales tax, you know what you're selling. The cash you could always play around with here and there, and there's like a rule of thumb for it. But quarterly taxes, it's money that you're paying to the IRS, which is like, nobody gives money to the IRS for no reason.
True. But the point that I definitely want to get at is how that dude, like, to show your pops, oh, look how good the registers are doing. And he had, he like orchestrated fucking 3 weeks worth of people just coming through, buying shit, and he was probably just giving them back like the money at the end of the day. And, so your pops even did the due diligence of, shadowing the guy for 3 weeks and checking the registers and shit like that. Pero siempre hay gancho, you know what I mean? Like, people do shady shit.
It's New York City, as soon as you land in the airport, you get scammed. I currently, I'm a Port Authority police officer at JFK, and you got to see these people that come to New York from like different countries, never been here before, and they'll jump on a cab and literally go from one terminal to the next terminal and get robbed for $200, and they pay it because they have no idea. They're like, oh, they're always here. Oh, New York, they're very expensive. It's the biggest city of the world. It's probably $200 to go from terminal 1 to terminal 8, and it's not. You know, these guys also charge $300 to go to Times Square, where a regular yellow cab will charge you $68, but they pay it because they don't know. But then when they do find out, they come the next day, they give the complaint to the police department, and that's when we have to enforce. So we're constantly, you know, shooing away the hustlers at the arrivals area. But it's just like it's just New York. It's just shady. You know?
It's like the nature of the beast. Mm-hmm. So you had that vision from a young age, and you knew that if you were gonna establish something and eventually bring your vision into fruition, you had to grind and do it yourself. You had to work hard, save money.
Exactly.
To like reach that point.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And you know, it's a lot that goes into it to try to like save this money. Like I've always told you, like I bought my first house in 2008 just because I knew I was calculating how much money I was making a week, how much I was making a month, and then yearly. I was like, and then I calculated the money that I was paying in rent yearly. So I was like, wow, if I'm spending $12,000 to $15,000 in rent every year, that's taken away from $75,000 to $58,000. I'm sorry, 52,000. I had this up 4 years. That's $60,000. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of hidden money that if you think about it, if you take it away, you're actually making more money in the future. So I was able to get an investment in East New York, which I'm not from Brooklyn. I'm from Queens, Richmond Hill. But I was able to get it because it was a new construction house of 4 apartments, and I knew with 2 apartments I was going to pay the mortgage. So not only was I not paying rent, but I was also making money off my house. So there alone, I was making basically double equity. You know what I'm saying? I was making money on not having to pay rent, and I was making money off, you know, what was left over of the cash rent.
Yeah, the savings plus like the assets of the money actually coming in.
Correct. And also building equity after 10 years. You know what I'm saying? You know,
it's like a long-term game. You know, the value's always going to go up, historically speaking, and
so that's actually
tremendous.
That's honestly how I was able to do it. And then I have a restaurant, so I wasn't spending money in food. So the way people see my stuff, they see me with 2 houses, 2 restaurants at 35 years old. But it's not. I've never sold any drugs in my life. I've always, you know, I'm a military to an iron worker to a police officer. Nobody's ever given me anything.
Like blue collar jobs. You know?
Exactly. Everybody. You know, I've paid my taxes every single year. Everybody knows it. It's just that I have these, you know, these knickknacks where I could save money, and I just see and I see where I could produce more. And
you could like optimizing.
Correct. And that's how I was able to save money. Once I had my house in Brooklyn, I didn't want to get into another house. You know, I hate being the handyman of the house. So I had some extra money, and I was able to buy a house, with the restaurant with your cousin Elvis in East New York. We started off great, and then, you know, so I found out a couple things, and then just the relationship wasn't there anymore. Everything happens for a reason. He faced a hardship that he just needed to get out. He needed money quick, and I took the opportunity and paid off his half, and I stood him with my business. After that, the business just boomed. You know, I had a vision of, you know, what the restaurant is, you know, in this age and the future. The guy Elvis was just, you know, he was used to restaurants in the 70s and the 80s, and he thought it still worked that way. So
yeah, because I was gonna ask you about that specifically, because I know there was like when the restaurant was Makori before, and you took it over, and it's now known as Caoba, located at 100 Jamaica Avenue in Brooklyn. And it's a poppin' spot. People can follow on Instagram at Caoba _NYC. And also the food page is Caoba _Bistro.
Caoba
_Bistro. The head chef is Chef Papi. Right? I noticed from the outside looking in, and from obviously knowing you personally, but like a complete, like 180? What's that for 360? A complete 180 from...
It's too early. I'm still messing up numbers.
I need more coffee. From when it was Makori to Caoba, it was like you know, it was a nice restaurant. It was cool, but it, like you said, it like definitely like blew up. Like after switching it to Caoba, and you kind of switched like the business model a little bit. Like it wasn't just restaurant. Like you have.
Yeah, I added a variety. You know, we open up at 3:00. We start off with the happy hour, and we open up the kitchen. And I just basically run 2 businesses. I run the restaurant 3 to 12, and then I do the lounge part 12 to 4. I mean, I'm paying rent, you know, for the 30 days at whatever time. It doesn't matter, you know. So I was basically producing 4 hours more a day, where my ex-partner at Makori didn't want to do it. So that's when I started seeing profit, and then I just started renovating the place, making it more hip. And
that's interesting. You see it that way, like 2 businesses. Like running it as 2 businesses, like 2 separate businesses.
One is a club, one is a restaurant.
That's dope.
And
it's literally like
in one location and one rent.
one rent, and you just you're splitting it up in your mind. That I'm guessing just from hearing that, like just hour wise, like from this time to this time it's a restaurant, and then from this time to this time it's a club.
Correct.
That's pretty dope.
So I was able to optimize in that,
And it draws. Sorry to cut you off. It draws like different crowds, like for that reason. Like me personally, like I'm not into like the clubbing scene and the hookah and the DJs and whatever, but I'm more into like the fine dining experience that you do get from like the early times when you know, nice music in the background,
it's crazy.
food.
The transition is crazy. Like you could be literally eating formal dinner, nice music in the background.
I was there for that.
And
I literally envisioned it.
You go to the bathroom or go outside to smoke a cigarette, and you come back inside and you be like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Everyone's like,
I'm talking about sofas are away. You got stand-up tables, the hookah's going, the DJ's going. You got the moving heads going with the lights, and it's just like, what the hell just happened? It's like a twilight.
It's insane, and that transition happens in with like
matter of minutes.
Military style precision.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I got another staff that comes in at 11 o'clock, and they're the ones who set up the floor, and they just transition everything.
That's dope. That's awesome.
And then we transition again at 4 in the morning to get ready for dinner service the next day.
And then that's a pretty good segue in that you seizing that opportunity with the restaurant and you seeing a vision for it that wasn't being implemented when it was Makuri. And you saying, you know, I have this opportunity now to buy out my partner. You took it, and I'm sure you had, including myself, like at that time, you know, folks telling you, hey, maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe you just focus on the cop thing, because I'm not sure if you were like already a cop at that point or not.
I had the restaurant first, and then like a year into it was when I got called from the Port Authority, and it's a job that you can't refuse.
And I'm sure you had like a mix of like support from people and, you know, people like being like cautiously optimistic, which is like the camp I would put like myself in, like, but you followed through with the vision that you had, implemented it, and now that business flourished based on the vision that you had, and to the point that you are now able to invest in a second restaurant, like your dream restaurant, which is the location that we're headed to now. That, you know, it's like mid-construction right now, being built up, and I'm gonna see it for the first time. So I'm definitely gonna like take some pictures and stuff like that, and we're gonna speak about it more when we're actually at the location. So if folks want to put some visuals together with this audio, check it out at spuntoday.com/podcast/142, which I think this will be episode 142, and check it out.
Actually, it's one of my waitresses right here.
Hey, Desiree. And we're we're literally driving by right now on, what is this?
On Cypress Avenue.
Cypress Avenue in Hancock. And one of Steven's waitresses from Kaowa just walked by.
Dude, you gotta respect the hustle. We left there at 5:15 this morning. Like, in this business, it's good. You know, you flourish a lot, you know, if you do it the right way. But it is a lot of sacrifice, a lot of no sleeping, a lot of time away from the family. And it's just like, I respect this girl's hustle. She has a kid, you know, she was out there till 5 in the morning. And I just see her coming out of bodega, you know, with food, with a bag full of food. You know what I'm saying? So she's going to go cook now for her family. Meanwhile, she has to come back to work later in a couple of hours.
That's insane. And not just the hustle from the employees, but I just want to highlight the fact that, like, Steven's running this business, opening up the second business, and he's a full-time Port Authority police officer.
Yes.
At the same time.
And a 2-year-old baby.
And has a 2-year-old.
Which is
my godson.
Yeah. Dude, it's just like, I'm driven, man, and I'm sure, like, you walk into McDonald's right now, you're not going to see the owner, and he probably has like 5 of them, and these things make millions of dollars a year. So that's my mentality. One of the things that most pushes me, dude, is my mom. With my last restaurant, you know, it was a lot of time away from the family. I was a first time entrepreneur. You know, I let things go to my head. I was dedicating more time to the restaurant than to my actual family at home. You know, and I did things I shouldn't have, and it cost me my first marriage. You know, that's a failure. I gotta suck it up and take it. But one of the things that biggest pushes me is my mom. When I got divorced, my mom was like, Steven, you know, get the fuck out that bed. You know what I'm saying? Don't be depressed. Don't do this or whatever. I know you better than this. And listen, your ex and her family, they just want to see you fail. They want to see you lose your business. They want to see you lose your house. They want to see the worst in you. Fucking, I'm sick. I have diabetes. But, you know, if I ever leave this earth, I want you to have, if you can, buy 3 more houses. If you can, buy 5 more restaurants, buy 5 more. Pero siga pa'lante. Like, don't let those people straight you down. And I've taken that like a grain of salt. That shit motivates me the fuck out of me every single day. and that's why I do what I do. So I'll sleep a couple of hours, but I have people that I put in play to work for me, that manage for me. Like I have my brother in one place, I got my sister Elaine, which helps me out tremendously. I got my compadre Radi that also runs all my hookah and my liquor. So if you put people in play in all the businesses, you don't have to be there. Because honestly, if you're in a business that you actually have to work, why the hell are you paying a manager? Why the hell are you paying a head bartender, head server? Why do you have a team? There's no team there.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong if you have to like be at a spot 24/7.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not constantly looking at the cameras. I'm not gonna live a life where I'm staring at my phone all day. But then the numbers are good. It's exactly what I expect. So obviously my team is doing what they got to do, and I know. By that operation, all you got to do is set a good team, a good operation, and you could open up 3, 4, 5, 6 more. I'm actually looking at another location right now. We're negotiating a lease over here also in Bushwick in Broadway. I think I'm going to sign that and start that project in June. No, that was a surprise for you.
Damn.
Yeah.
That would be like another restaurant?
Yeah, the reason is that I have 2 more years left in my lease, and the landlord, I haven't seen the landlord in 3 years. I don't know if he's dead or what the hell happened.
You serious?
Yeah, but his wife actually has a property. She runs it, so I pay her the rent, but she has no say, on the lease or if they're renewing the lease or whatever. So Kawaba's a very good business. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can't just wait till the day before my lease to hand in the keys and not have no business. So that's why I'm setting this up now. Because I want to keep Aura as a very formal dining, sophisticated destination place, but I also want to have the same Caoba crowd, where it's just good food, and then the transition into the nightlife, and with the whole hookah and the music and the people
it's a
and all
much
that stuff.
younger crowd.
Yeah, so I definitely I'm not willing. I don't want to lose that right now, and nothing's guaranteed. So that's why I'm going to start this new project in June, God willing.
That's dope, and that actually leads me to something I wanted to ask you about. Like, you have that vision that's already something that you're thinking about that's 2 years out. And I always remember something that stayed with me from you, that I learned from you growing up, is something even from, I think it came about like with your time in the Army, but maybe even before then. I think before then, the first time you ever told me about it was that you always break things down into 5-year chunks. Like, you have 5-year plans, 5-year visions.
Exactly.
So I'm guessing something like this that you're already planning out 2 years ahead.
This is a perfect example, correct. I got to prepare for it. I'm a soldier. You always got to go to the war with all your weapons or your gadgets or your, everything ready. And this is exactly what I'm doing. It takes time to open up a business. I've been here for 8 months now, this construction site. And, I come here every day. If I wouldn't have come here every day, I would have took a year. Because guys, dilly-dally and fuck around. And I'm paying these guys by day. So they actually want the job to be longer because, they're getting paid regardless.
Definitely.
So I'm here guiding the orchestra, all day.
And is that something that you learned also from doing construction?
Correct, yeah.
But it's true. That's like the contractors and construction workers are known for. Like, they'll tell you a job takes 10 days, but to sign the dotted line, start getting paid, and then cuando tú vienes a ver, it's like 15, 20, 25 days that it takes.
Exactly. But I got a good team here. I got 2 teams here. One is excellent. The other one I got to keep watching. But I'm actually on my way here now to drop off some furniture. We're getting ready to hopefully open up the 26th right after Christmas. And so time is money right now. Every day is just long hours now for these next 8 days of construction because we're missing on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day next week. And I just got to make this happen.
And I think that laundromat's for sale. I think.
That's what?
That laundromat, I think, is for sale. I think I've seen that one. What was I about to ask you? So you signed the lease for this place 8 months ago. So you've had the place for 8 months. You're paying rent,
I signed the lease in January, February, but they didn't have TCO until May 1st. So May 1st is when I started the...
What is that, TCO?
Temporary...
The CVO certificate?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Okay.
That's what it is. It took me 30 days to get a good contractor, with all his licensing. I was able to get it. And so we actually...
Did you have to try out different contractors?
No.
Okay.
I had one contractor that I was definitely working with, but he doesn't have all his licensing. And this is a DOB job where the plumbing has to be signed off, and electric and all that stuff.
So by the city and everything, right?
Yeah, so I had to get one of those. That took some time. It took me 30 days, and it actually cost me now a whole month of rent. But it is what it is. You learn from it. And where was I? Oh yeah, so we started in June. So since June here, it's been 7 months already.
Damn. Wait, you started paying rent when? A month ago?
The first of this month.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got this month, and I got to pay January 1st now.
Damn. So what ups and downs have you experienced? Because this is a little different from when you opened up Caoba. Because Caoba was already... Did Elvis have it already or no?
No.
But it was an operating restaurant. You guys took it over.
It was already closed down. That corner's been there since the 70s. But when we got it, it was already closed down. The guy before us had to close it down. I don't know what he did. I think he started putting domino tables in the restaurant and just made it like a shit show. And so the landlord took it. And when we got it from with the gates down, and we put the gates up, and it was starting from the beginning. Exactly what I'm doing here in Outer. I feel kind of confident because I did it once already over there. I feel I could do it again here. I hired an excellent PR person. We're actually going to be in Good Day America on the 5th, right before Three Kings. We have a session for Telemundo at the end of January, and we have NBC, I believe, on the 8th of January. So
wow, that's dope.
Yeah.
How does that work?
No, you got a PR, public relations, and he has connections with all these networks. You pay him a fee.
I want you to promote my business, type of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
you pay him obviously not for free.
Yeah.
You pay him a fee, and he does his thing. And you got recognition. We were featured in the Bushwick Daily already. We plan on the grand opening to hold a press conference with the Times and the Post. We're doing everything the right way. We got
the Spun Today podcast, of course.
Of course. We got a great manager. She just came off a 1-star Michelin restaurant. She's great resume, great personality. I feel we're gonna do really good by her. So basically, I have all my puppets in play, like how you're supposed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just like going the cheap route, like let me make a beautiful place and just hope that people come here. So something could be beautiful on Fifth Avenue, but if the service is not there, the charisma is not there, you don't have anything. So
yeah. And by that, I don't want people to misconstrue that either. Like how you just said, like puppets in play. It's not like you're like with a negative connotation. It's like with the connotation of like you mentioned before, being the conductor of an orchestra. Like you're literally
the manager.
like, you guys go, you guys do this. Yeah. Now you're on your turn.
Yeah.
It's having like the perfect pieces in place that you have the confidence in certain people to like execute at the jobs that you put them in.
I also believe a lot in team building. You see how I run my restaurant in Caoba. Like I'm very everybody says I'm the best boss because I believe in a team. Everybody knows what they got to do, and I don't press them. I don't
You don't like micromanage.
Yeah, I don't like to micromanage. I don't like to talk behind anybody's back or scold somebody in front of another coworker. Like I'm very professional with that because I think about it this way. I'm hardly ever there. If they hate me, they're gonna like fucking rob me when I'm not there. So I build like this friendship, like this family, and it just like it hurts them like if they try to do something like that to me. I've had the same staff for years, and they work great. I love them. Shout out to my Galva family in East New York, and I like building an establishment that's family orientated.
That's awesome, man. That's something good to hear. When there was like a stark difference between when I used to work in my first job in high school. When I was 16 was a restaurant, and then I worked in two. I went from that one to another one in Mineola, and which we actually used to cut to and
go play
ping pong and pool and shit in the basement.
Yeah.
Shout out to Labs. But there was a stark difference between the owner of it and the manager of it. The manager, which I'm still friends with to this day, that went on to open up his own spot called Sangria in Jamaica, was Joey, and he had that type of outlook that you just mentioned. Like if he ever had like an issue with a staff member, he'll call them aside, call them up to the office, and speak to them, calm, cool, collected, and teach them like how to do something right that he thought that they were doing wrong. And whereas literally the owner, like he would literally, like in front of customers, like if somebody was holding a plate in their left hand, they should have been holding it like in the right hand, whatever. Like he would yell at them, put them on the spot, make them nervous in front of the customer. Like, no, you did that wrong. Come back over here. Like grab them by the shoulder. Look, pick that up. That goes on that side. He's like an old school like Portuguese dude that kind of like rough around the edges kind of.
Yeah.
But he didn't have like that type of important to me like leadership skill of you have to look beyond a mistake. And if you want an employee not to commit that mistake again, putting them on the spot and putting them on blast and making them feel like shit is not the way to achieve that.
Definitely. Yeah, that's definitely old school. That was actually like my ex-partner. That's how he like managed it. But man, honestly, wasted talent is the worst you could do. If you have your dream, like my best friend Tony has always wanted to open a laundromat. Like he just one day got to do it. If you fail, you fail. But the worst thing to live with is with regret. Like I love what I stand behind my brand. I guarantee it. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm gonna do good. I have a lot of faith in God. I do the right thing. I just know that whatever I put my hands into, it's gonna be good, and it has for everything else in the past. So I just feel like it's gonna be good here. And if you have a strong passion for something, start saving your money, get good credit, take a loan out, and just follow your dreams. But you don't want to like be 70, 80 and be like, wow, I wish I would have done this before. Because regret, you can't buy time again.
Absolutely, and that honestly is something that's motivated me more towards like the whole laundromat idea and like dream, like you said, that that I've had for some time, and like I wanted to do, but always like gun shy and hesitant about. And you know, I went from like the restaurant jobs and stuff to now corporate America for like 10 years, and you know, seeing you and your success with the restaurant and just entrepreneurship in general, it like made me see that, you know what, it is possible. Like, you know what I mean? And I should like save up, like you said, and actually, you know, give it a shot, go for it, and not put myself in a position where, you know, I'm like selling every single thing I own or whatever to accomplish a goal, but like hedge my bets and do it smartly. And if God forbid something fails, you know, I'm not out in the street with a can in my hand.
Yeah, definitely, dude. If you have $100, don't invest $100. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I would say if you have 20, invest 12. You know, you always got to be, you know, right now I'm prepared for like a whole year. If like nobody comes into my restaurant, I'm prepared to pay a whole year of rent. That way I don't lose my place. A lot of people fail in the restaurants because they put everything they have into it. Business is bad a couple months and you go right in the hole. You know, you're talking about $5,000-$6,000 of rent. You owe 4 months. You owe $25,000. Like, how do you come back from that? You know, so you got to be prepared to have that rent because it's gonna take time. You know, and in Gawa, it took me 2 years to start seeing money, and I made all my money back and was able to invest in more and other stuff. Same thing with out here. I'm prepared. Like, if nobody comes in, which I don't think the restaurant's gonna be that bad and the food's gonna be that bad, that nobody's gonna enter. But again, I have that military mentality where like I'm preparing for the worst. Correct. So as long as you do that, you have a backup plan. I think you'll be fine.
That's dope, man. And we are pulling up right now on the outside of it. It looks dope from the outside. Can't wait to take a couple pictures. We're going to pause the podcast for now, take a look around, and get back. Alrighty, folks. We are back in the car. You're going to hear some navigation in the background, but please don't mind it. And the restaurant is dope. I was telling Steven inside, I'll repeat it here, that I'm like super proud of him, like seeing his success. And this restaurant, which I know has been a long time goal of his, this one specifically, like the, what did you call it before, like a fine dining experience type of thing?
Yeah, it's gonna be a fine dining, and you know, the aesthetics is what I've always wanted. More formal dining, you know, more like to celebrate birthdays, romantic dinners, anniversaries, stuff like that.
And it's something that I know definitely that it has always been a goal of his. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, brother.
Can't wait to see it open. Tell me the name. You were just getting into a story about the name. I cut you off, so you can repeat it here on the podcast because I think it's like just a dope like origin story.
Well, the name of the complex is called The Breeze. It's an industrial. It was an old pillow factory, and now it became like a warehouse for businesses. So it's all corporate offices. You have those clubs. You have a marketing agency. You have people that make skate ramps. It's pretty cool. So it's all commercial, and then there's a retail level that's attached to it. There's a corridor called the Breezeway that you have to go through to come to my place. And so the whole thing is called The Breeze, the whole complex. And I initially wanted to do a Latin restaurant. So I Googled The Breeze in Latin, and Aura came out, A-U-R-A, Aura. I like the name also because it reminds me of my grandmother, my father's mother. That's her first name, Aura. And third of all, like, it's just like your energy, like your aura. Like, what do you portray? Like, people like my aura is more like personality, and Steven's always in a good time, and Steven always wants to turn up and, you know, make everybody smile. So I love people's aura. I love that name. I love the meaning of behind that name. So that's how Aura came about, and then we named it Cocina and Bar, which means kitchen and bar.
That's so sick. And you're gonna like the type of cuisine that you picked was Cuban, Asian?
Yes. Basically, a lot of people wanted the space because it's going to be the feature restaurant for the whole complex, and they just wanted to go with the person that was more innovative. It's a very hip neighborhood, a lot of hippies, a lot
hipsters.
of for hipsters, freelancers, and they wanted something innovative. They wanted something new. They didn't want your typical Mexican restaurant or Dominican restaurant or anything, you know, regular. So I was like, you know what? My favorite Spanish food is Cuban. And everything. I love Chinese food. I can eat Chinese food every day of the week. So I was like, let me just combine these two cuisines. I think there's like 2 or 3 in the city. But they're not very popular, you know, and you really have to master it. And I was able to get this celebrity chef, Ricardo Cardona, who's like the official chef of the Yankees, Mark Anthony's personal chef, the official chef of Zona de Cuba in Edgewater, New Jersey. He's awesome. He teamed up with another Asian chef from LA, who was featured on a 2-page article in the LA Times. So they combined the menu. It's amazing. I just got the menu. I haven't tasted it yet. We have the tasting next week sometime. But it's just like all the ingredients and everything they're using is just, it's amazing. Can't wait to try it. And I can't wait till you guys try it.
So how does that work? So these like celebrity chefs and stuff like that, they like put together a menu like you said, and the flavors and like how to cook it type of thing, or how to cook certain dishes, and then like the chef on like whatever chef you have like working there, they get like taught those like how to execute those dishes.
Well, yes. Well, obviously they went to chef school, and the good thing about Ricardo Cardona is that he's literally gone like everywhere in the world, because he likes, like, if he wants to cook Mexican food, he'll go to Mexico and learn the authentic way of making it. Same thing with like Argentina and Spain. He's been to Asia, he's been to Thailand. Like, he's gone to all these countries besides being a chef and learning, you know, the basics. But he's gone to all these countries and has like a special feel to all these cuisines. You know, and it's not. For example, Mexican food, it's just not putting salsa and chips and guacamole on a plate. You know, there's a lot that goes into it. So it's the same thing with, you know, with the Cuban Asian.
But that's dope. I just didn't know that it worked that way. I thought it was like let's say Ricardo Cajona or whatever. I thought like he was physically like in the kitchen making it. You know what I mean? But it's like a different level of like that whole chef world. Like,
yes.
World, right?
Yes, that's exactly how it is. And he's very expensive as well. So some money has a lot to do with it.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
But he has a good resume, has a big following. Like, he'll bring baseball players to your establishment, you know, celebrities, singers, you know, the whole nine, and, you know, and that's what builds a place, you know.
There must be like a lot of like clout like attached to this thing.
Correct.
And what's dope is we just saw the place. It's obviously like still under construction, but like you said, it's like all of the like heavy lifting is out of the way. It's like now it's like more like decorations and aesthetics and stuff like that being done. And it already, I've never been to Cuba. You went a couple of times. I should have gone when you told me to go with you, and I didn't, probably for a reason that I don't even remember. So it obviously wasn't a good reason. Probably like, oh no, I gotta work, or like some dumb shit. But it, like, from pictures that I've seen of Cuba and stuff like that, like it has, like, I'm starting to, like, I could visualize like those elements like coming together.
Yeah, those antique
like
buildings, those rustic cars. You know, it's like
what pastel colors and stuff like that.
What I love about Cuba is like you basically transform yourself from like 2019 to like the 1950s, 1960s. It's a whole transformation with everything, with the people, with the decor, what car you get in, what restaurant you go to. So it's like being trapped in a different era. You know,
it's like time traveling.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. All right, and I took some video for folks that want to check it out, some videos, some pictures and stuff. And you guys can check it out where I mentioned before, spuntoday.com/podcast/142. So you can definitely get the visuals that come along with this episode.
So yeah, entrepreneurship. I also have a shipping company where I import items to the Dominican Republic in tanks, boxes, refrigerators, TVs, sofas, and kind of type of furniture.
I remember when you told me about that, like mad long ago. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I still
like,
do that.
Literally, it was like in the middle of like the whole Caoba transition, stuff like that. You're like, oh, I'm going to open up another business. I was like, yo, this guy, you're doing like way too much. You're biting off like more than you could chew. And then that business you still have like going.
Exactly. Again, like I told you, if you have the right people in play, there's no reason why you can't do it.
So like a business like that, me imagino that you're obviously not involved like day to day. You just like collect your like money from it.
Yeah, that's
when
it.
The time comes.
Yeah.
Nice. But you like established it, you started it.
Yeah, it's called the Dominicana Cargo Express. I'm actually very good now with the next president-elect. We've met a couple of times. I'm helping run his campaign here in New York. I'm the secretary of Mil Amigos Abinader. He's like 90% of the tolls that he's going to win the election. So
in DR?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Luis Abinader.
Nice.
Yeah. He's a disciple to Peña Gomez.
Gotcha. And for folks that don't know, like it's like a big like popular thing, especially for Dominicans. Like my parents like ship stuff. My wife to like her pops and like family members that you have over there. It's like you ship like containers and boxes and like literally like these big like jug tanks of like goods and stuff, like clothes, food, like stuff like that to relatives that you have over there. So it's pretty dope.
Yeah, man, it's cool. And dude, honestly, my dream is like I want to be a restaurateur. This is like the one I'm opening now is like my dream restaurant. If that pops off, I literally want to do like, I want to keep the same. I want to franchise out Aura, but like I want to change the name and like in the aesthetic that of whatever culinary I decide. Like let's say for example, I want to do a Mexican restaurant. I'd probably name it Aura, Cantina, and Agave Bar. something like that along those lines.
So like the tagline to it would be like more specific to
Correct, of what culinary it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But
So
you still maintain like the aura. Like
Yeah,
that's
correct, yeah.
The staple of it.
I have 11 years left in the Port Authority to retire. I'm like 10 and a half. It's a good job, but I honestly, I love working for myself. I love what I do. Like, it's fun when I come to the restaurants. It's not like I'm dragging my feet and like, fuck, I gotta wake up and do this. Like, I love getting up and coming over here and seeing what's going on. I like the motion. I like the energy. I like the busy and the craziness that goes behind the scenes in the kitchen. I love all that stuff, and I just want to keep doing it. And I want to pass that down to my kids.
Which is important to like love what you do, right?
Of course it
doesn't feel like you're working.
Dude, if people love work, it would be free.
Yeah, exactly. That's why a lot that's advice that a lot of people give people that I follow and listen to, which is like find what you love and are passionate about and do it, and then figure out a way to get paid from it later.
Correct. And I just want to pass that down to my kids. I want it to be like a Peter Luger's that it just goes down from generation to generation. Honestly, the way college is going now, I feel like people are just gonna keep dropping out because honestly, these guys, like, you go out there, it's expensive. You spend 4 years and you can even get a job getting out. And everything's so competitive and all this computers. It's eliminating so many jobs. I honestly feel like social media is like it's killing the game. I don't see college like. Obviously, for the major professions like being a lawyer and doctors, that's always going to exist.
Yeah, for very specific professions.
Correct. Yeah, but
I definitely agree. Like I think entrepreneurship is important to that extent, and what like I do with like podcasting and writing and like my personal goals like in that field, and people that I read and listen to on other podcasts like that. Like that's a very very important element to me, which is establishing that there are alternatives, there are different lanes that if you're willing to like put in the work for, you can like follow and pursue. Like they're like unorthodox, like different things. It's not just like go to high school, go to college, do 4 years, get a master's, and then get this job, and then work at this job until you're 65, then retire and collect Social Security, and then die. Like it's not just that path alone. There's a unlimited amount of different paths that people can go from investing in businesses and following different passions, and I think that's important for our generation, which is like in the middle of it now, and for future generations to factor in and put into play.
That's a fact.
But yeah, bro, thank you very much for doing the episode. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
I know folks are gonna get a lot from it. And anything else? Remind folks again where Caoba is, where Aura is.
Yeah, Caoba is located in East New York, 100 Jamaica Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. Aura's in East Williamsburg. That's on 315 Meserole Street. Estamos a la orden. We're there to serve you. I hope you guys come, try out the amazing food and the ambiance and the shift into the nightlife. You could get a little bit of everything. You could go for dinner, then casual drinks, then end up dancing the night away with your wife or significant other, whoever. But it's definitely to bring joy to your heart.
And the social medias for Caoba and Aura?
Caoba is _NYC and Caoba _Bistro. Aura is Oro Cocina.
Nice. All right, folks, I'm out.
Bye.
And that's the episode, folks. Episode 142 of the Spun Today podcast in the books. I want to remind you all, like I said in the intro of the show, that you can go to spuntoday.com/podcast/142, where you can see photos and video of Aura under construction, so you can put some visuals along with all the entrepreneurial stuff we were speaking about during this show. Remember to follow Aura on Instagram at Aura Cocina, spelled AURACOCINA. You can also follow Steven's other spot, Caoba, at Caoba_NYC. That's CAOBA_NYC, as well as Caoba_Bistro, CAOBA_BISTRO. Aura, for those of you that are going to be in the East Williamsburg area and are eager to check it out, as of the release of this episode, it's scheduled to open up to the public during the second half of January 2020, so it's just a couple weeks away. Definitely stay tuned, follow the Instagram, so you can be the first to know. Steven, thanks again for doing this episode. I appreciate you, my dude. And to all the fine folks, the listeners of the Spun Today podcast, I want to thank you very much for another year in the books. in this final episode of 2019. The Spun Today podcast is going 5+ years strong, and hopefully many, many more years to come. Unless I happen to die tragically or something, in which case you guys can still enjoy the back catalog of 142 episodes to date. But hopefully that's not the case. Thanks again, folks. I appreciate the fuck out of you. And if you'd like to support the show, stay tuned, listen to some tunes. Which reminds me, really quick, we speak about a little bit of the origin of the name of Aura, how Steven came up with it. Something else that we touched on when we left, I'm not sure if we recorded it on the episode or not, is that the restaurant crosses with Bogart Street. I was telling Steven about this dope Eminem lyric within one of the best Eminem verses, in my opinion, from the No Love collab with Lil Wayne, where he says that he bogarted the game. And I was telling Steven a little bit about the background of bogarting the game and coming into it, taking over, and that's a good omen, good sign for Aura. And I'm actually going to drop that verse specifically now, have you guys enjoy it, and then you can listen to some ways that you can help support the show. Happy holidays to you and yours. Have a great new year, and I'll check you folks out in 2020. What's up, folks? Tony here. I hope you're enjoying the Spun Today podcast as much as I enjoy producing it for you. Here are a few ways you can help support the show. You can support the Spun Today podcast financially by going to spuntoday.com/support. There you will find a couple different ways that you can do just that, some of which will actually not even cost you a dime, such as using my Amazon affiliate link. When you go to spuntoday.com/support, you'll see my affiliate link to Amazon. Click on it and it will take you to Amazon's website, where you can do your shopping like normal. This will not cost you anything extra, but Amazon will pay me for driving traffic to their website. If you'd like to support the podcast more directly, you can do so by becoming a patron. At spuntoday.com/support, you'll also find my Patreon link. This is where creators such as myself can be paid directly by patrons like you. You can either make a one-time donation or schedule recurring donations if you so choose. There are also different tiers of support, and depending on which you decide to go with, you'll also receive some perks in return, such as early access to content, free digital copies of my books, free bookmarks, etc. That is, again, by supporting via my Patreon link, available at spuntoday.com/support. Similar to Patreon, at that same location, you'll also find my Ko-fi link as well as my Buy Me a Coffee link. They work very similar to Patreon and are different ways that you can help support the show financially. And last but certainly not least, you have the good old-fashioned PayPal donation button. Any which way that you choose to support is greatly appreciated. It all helps me do more of what I love, which is writing and podcasting. Again, go to spuntoday.com/support. You can also support the Spun Today podcast by rating and reviewing the show wherever it is that you're listening to this episode. I'd really appreciate it because it really does help. Also, follow me on all socials. At Spun Today on X, formerly known as Twitter. At Spun Today on Instagram. And at Spun Today on YouTube, where you'll not only find full-length episodes of the podcast, but also chopped up clips and additional content. And of course, you can follow the Facebook page at facebook.com/Spun Today. Another way you can help support the Spun Today podcast and also upgrade that stale wardrobe of yours is by going to spuntoday.com/support and clicking on the banner for Stitch Fix. Once you do, you'll enjoy a $25 discount to your first purchase. And the way Stitch Fix works is pretty cool. I use it and I've never been disappointed. You'll set up a profile, you'll put in all the sizes for your clothes, as well as all the different brands and types of clothes that you like to wear. It's really simple and intuitive to set up. They'll show you pictures and pretty much give you a thumbs up or thumbs down option on if you would wear something or not. And you get to select all the brands that you already are used to wearing. With this information, there are thousands of passionate, trend-setting stylists who will curate a Stitch Fix box for you. They'll send you 5 items that you get to preview before they mail it to you, and you'll get to select based on the image if you like it or not. If not, they'll replace it with something else, and if so, they'll mail it to you absolutely for free. You can try everything on, and you have a few days to send everything back or keep the stuff that you want to keep. Then you can use that $25 credit that I mentioned towards your purchase of those items. Again, to freshen up your wardrobe and also support the Spun Today podcast, go to spuntoday.com/support and click on my affiliate link banner for Stitch Fix and enjoy your $25 credit. Do you want to start your own podcast? Have a great show idea that you want to get out into the masses but don't know quite how to get it from your head out into the world? Well, here's how. Use the podcast host Libsyn. That's who I use to bring the Spun Today podcast to you. And now you can use them the same way. Using the promo code SPUN, S-P-U-N, you can open up your Libsyn account today and get 2 months of free podcast hosting. Here's how it works. Once you record your show, you upload it to your Libsyn account, where you can fill in your episode notes, upload your podcast art, and schedule when you want your episodes to release. Once you do that, Libsyn will take care of the rest. They'll distribute your show to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and all the other podcatchers that you choose, instantaneously and seamlessly. Again, go to libsyn.com and use the promo code SPUN, S-P-U-N, to get 2 months free. Or use the affiliate link that's in the episode notes. Again, that's libsyn.com, promo code SPUN. Take that great podcast idea from out of your head and put it out into the world. And as always, folks, substitute the mysticism with hard work and start taking steps in the general direction of your dreams. Thanks for listening. I love you, Aiden.
I love you, Daddy.
I love you, Grayson.
I love you, Daddy.